And for all these topics I said, we have Danny Shaw, special guest, to analyze the speech of the U.S. President Donald Trump this night. Hello, Danny, can you hear me?
Good evening, Anna from New York City.
Hello. Danny, hello. What can you tell us about this speech? What are your thoughts about it?
This was appalling even by any expectations one would have of Donald Trump. This was the pinnacle of arrogance, of American exceptionalism, as if somehow Americans, and of course Jose Marti and Simon Bolivar, so many others remind us that there are Americans in Argentina, there are Americans in Haiti and Cuban in the entire hemisphere. But typical of Trump, he tried to cast the billionaire class, his inner circle, as being somehow superior to the 8 billion human beings of the world. For him to so straightforwardly say that the Panama Canal continues to belong to the United States, a piece of land ripped away from the Colombian people, where some 30,000 workers perished building the canal, workers who came from African backgrounds, Jamaican and Bajan, that's Barbados backgrounds. There were so many lies, so much haughtiness that is very characteristic of Trump. This is the billionaire's agenda. We saw Elon Musk very symbolically presiding over the entire ceremony, an individual worth some $250 billion. That's $250 billion, worth much more than the GDP of many countries. So indeed, frightful, everything that we saw, Anna.
Yeah, and also about he's saying that he will change the Gulf of Mexico name to the Gulf of America, and the deep fight, if we can say in that way, that the Mexican president Claudia Sheinbaum has on it, and also Google changing the name of the Gulf of America, and saying that it's just in the United States that you can see it, and in some parts of the world. And the master class that the Mexican president gave to Google, and now Donald Trump ratifying that he will continue with that.
Yeah, I mean his attitude towards the Gulf of Mexico, his attitude towards Greenland, his attitude towards the 4 oceans of the world, the 7 continents of the world, is that it all belongs to him and his henchmen. Um, every day, the inequality here in New York City, where I'm situated, and across the U.S. is greater. All of these tariff wars are meaning that a lot of working class people, blue collar workers, factory workers right now are actually losing their jobs. Inflation is out of control. There's a ton of fear. Very symbolically, a few blocks from where I am right now, my son and I just drove by one of these quote unquote detention centers where we just heard Trump completely dehumanize in the most xenophobic ways Venezuelans, Haitians, all immigrants. No human being is illegal. There's going to be more and more immigrants forced to leave their homelands, whether it's in Central America or Southeast Asia, because of U.S. economic aggression. And seeing all of these quote unquote migrants, these are human beings who didn't want to leave their homelands but were forced to by U.S. foreign policy that has, for how many decades now, and before that, of course, European colonialism, defuturized how many hundreds of millions of human beings. So Donald Trump is an expert demagogue. He's the demagogue in chief. He's the xenophobe in chief. He's the white supremacist in chief. And really, what most stood out tonight is that he is the American supremacist, or the United States centric supreme commander in chief as well.
Yeah. Another thing that it's important to highlight, he said that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, but he focused on Joe Biden. is the worst president of the United States has, and said that under his administration, so is that inflation growth, that the migration growth, and all the things and all the problems that currently has the United States. What can you tell us about it, and why do you think that is true?
Well, certainly Biden was never any friend of working class people. The crisis of immigration was never a Biden crisis or a Democratic crisis. It's a crisis of imperialism. It's a crisis of neocolonialism. It's the polar opposite of everything that Trump described with his anti immigrant hysteria. He's an expert at decontextualizing all of these different subjects. Um, there is an incredible amount of corruption, of nefarious corruption within the US government. But to sack all of Social Security, to sack different benefits, we saw the Democrats holding up their meek signs saying to save Medicaid. These are benefits, these are rights that our forefathers and foremothers fought for during the Great Depression, and here come the billionaires, the mega rich, and they think they can take away all of these benefits. The Democrats have never been any great defenders of our people either. It's incumbent upon us to hear this naked class strife, these attacks, this aggression against working class interests. Those of us who are union members, those of us who are part of tenants associations, all of the grassroots organizations, we have to continue to organize and mobilize. I think this is going to wake up more and more Americans, because what's going to happen, Trump makes all of these promises, but when the people of Indiana and the people of Ohio and the people of Massachusetts see in the upcoming months that no, nothing has in fact changed. Unemployment prevails, low wages, inflation. The billionaires don't have the opposite, not the billionaire donkey, not the billionaire elephant. That's going to kick up a lot of dust, a lot of class static, a lot of frustration, and people are going to continue to mobilize and resist. And that's the only thing that can change the course that we're on. We're on a collision course with how much destruction of the environment from Greenland to Panama and around the world. We're on a collision course with the invasion and the pillaging of how many sovereign countries throughout the world. We heard him address Ukraine and Russia, not one word about Palestine, about Gaza, about the West Bank, about the occupation, the colonialism, and how many words that are censored that I can't even say right now. And then Trump, how hypocritically says that he stands against censorship. Nothing could be further from the truth, Anna.
Yeah. Another thing that a lot of the things he said is about the recognition of only two genders, female and male, and the ban of the sport leagues that support transgender people, and transgender people competing in their side gendered, right? But gendered, right? But in the main situation, or in the main thing is that these people are supported about organizations, are recognized in the United States. How this will impact the citizens and, of course, the country.
Trump is the bully in chief. He's the transphobe in chief. He's the homophobe in chief. Transgender people, the gay community, they're certainly not responsible for so much of what is wrong in terms of the inequality that prevails with this economic model of capitalism, of imperialism. So what we hear from Trump is always, whether it's attacks against our trans sisters and brothers, or our immigrant sisters and brothers, or working class people around the world, it's the art of scapegoating. It's what we saw in the 1930s in Germany, We saw where that led to the death of how many tens of millions of Soviets, of our Jewish sisters and brothers, and the Roma people all the way down on the line. Trump stands on the shoulders of tyrants, of bullies. I will segue now just into a commentary on what was never a Ukraine-Russia war. This has always been a U.S., NATO, Western European capitalist countries war on Russia's geopolitical, geomilitary, and geoeconomic strategic interests. And as much as it may be to the chagrin of Democrats, that war should come to an end, but it shouldn't come to an end where U.S. corporations then zoom in and steal all of the minerals that belong to the Ukrainian people and to their neighbors and to the people of that area of the world. So whether it's Democrat or Republican, um, what future do the Ukrainian people have? What future the Venezuelan and Cuban people and Nicaraguan and Bolivian people have? We've heard so much of the attacks on the Bolivarian countries. Any countries that stand up to these billionaire bullies are on the chopping block as far as they are concerned.
And another thing, there was the Congress divide. There was the Republican side and the Democrat side, and there were just in different ways, in their different point of view, and they were just present there. How this could be in the following rules that the Trump's administration will make. And another thing is important to analyze and mention and for you to explain is the tariff he imposed over the Canada, Mexico, and China and the retaliations that it will have.
Yeah, he has all this rhetoric about make America great again. Of course, it's a euphemism for serving the billionaires' agenda. All this talk about tariffs and bringing all these corporations back, and what the ruling class did in Congress there. Yeah, of course, we saw the Democrats booing and hissing. We saw Al Green from Houston, Texas, the representative there, kicked out very early. We saw the protest signs from the Democrats, but really the Democrats have acted in such a meek way. If we want to blame why Trump is in the driver's seat of U.S. history right now and Trumpism and this ideology of the billionaires, is because the liberals, the Democrats, they failed to answer. They were the ones that participated in the deindustrialization of the Midwest. They never stood up for working class people. They never had any teeth. So they really brought Trump this second electoral victory on a tray, if you will. The critiques of U.S. government corruption, we heard Trump read through a list of U.S. aid and the other instances of corruption and all of our taxpayer money, that it doesn't just go to corruption, it goes to the control into propping up a U.S. foreign ruling class agenda, whether it's in Bangladesh or Romania or trying to again topple the Cuban government. So Trump, again, as we've been saying since 2016, does represent a type of ideological and political monkey wrench in the everyday machinery of capitalism. Of course, the capitalist class wants to pretend that they're always liberating people. For Trump to speak in such an open way, this strikes fear into big segments of the ruling class. So I think it's important to understand that what we're seeing play out with all of the fake smiles and the fake handshakes and all of the rhetoric on Fox News and in the halls of Congress tonight, what we're seeing are competing cliques of billionaires. Some represent the military industrial complex, some represent the massive Fortune 500 mineral companies, and they all have their mouthpieces. Some have their mouthpieces in the Democratic Party, others in the Republican Party. We saw how quick now Zelensky knows that there's no future right now with Kamala or Biden. So Zelensky, who at his heart is nothing more than a silly actor and comedian, a pawn in this big imperial chess game, he's going to now work with his overlords, just as he worked with the Democratic overlords. Now he'll work with the Republicans to fork over the economy of his country. Who's left in the U.S., NATO, and these massive Fortune 500 companies? Meat grinder is the Ukrainian people and the Russian people who've been dragged into this war, which was never a Russian war of aggression, as CNN, MSNBC, New York Times lie to us every day. That's why the Democrats tonight, so many of them head on very symbolically, blue and yellow. Where are the Democrats standing up for the Palestinian people who are standing up before a Holocaust, a genocide, massive displacement for 76 years? Tonight was really a showcase in hypocrisy, not democracy, but hypocrisy from both sides of the aisle, both the side that was standing up applauding standing room only, and then the other side who were constantly glum in their face and who remained seated.
Thank you, Danny, for your explanations today. Thank you very much. See you next time.
Thank you, Anna. A pleasure.
You too. And we have come to the end of this news brief. And this Trump's speech was to the Congress and was not the Union's Congress. You have to keep an eye with us on his hound against Latin American, Caribbean, and all the things he have been doing against the immigrants and against the people. And we stay tuned with TeleSUR English for our news brief from the South with more news information about this and many other topics.